I'm going to talk about some of the many things that I have learned from riding 59 electric bicycles. I wanted to do this when I hit 60, but I just can't wait anymore. I haven't been able to get to 60 for a little bit. But anyway, 59 is pretty good. So we're going to talk about various things that I have learned and want to pass along. You can link up here to the video that I did for things I learned when I had only ridden 35, and that did really well, and I gave a lot of insight, but I've learned quite a bit more since then. What I've learned is, and this is in no particular order, while the battery and the motor are incredibly important for an e-bike, for those that have gears and pedal assist, the derailleur is equally as important. So when you're shifting through gears and it just doesn't work very well, and it's crap, and you hear grinding, and the pedals and the gearing slips, and you go between you keep switching between gears when you're riding accidentally, right? You know what I'm talking about, where the gearing grinds, you're pedaling hard, and it keeps skipping into a different gear. That is all because of a crappy derailleur. And a lot of electric bikes that are at a lower price point have shitty derailleurs, and it's just it's unnerving, and it literally makes the honestly, it makes the whole power or a pedal assist option very unattractive. And so you wind up using way too much throttle, and you go through your power, you go through your battery way faster. So that's one. Throttle, people, or pedal assist and derailleurs. Got to have a good derailleur. The next thing is, and that was a perfect example. You're a redheaded stepchild. Excuse me for if you are redheaded, but you're a bastard if you're on a bike, and whether you're in a bike lane or on the road, people are just don't give a shit. And most people, unlike that guy back there, don't wait for you. They'll speed up. See this coming up right here, this turn, somebody would usually speed up and cut you off because they can't wait 4 seconds for you to pass. They can't wait. They have to go fast. So that, and then people encroaching on the bike lane, and etc, etc. So you are a bastard on a bike, an e-bike. You must be careful. I ride a lot of LA e-skate rides with big groups in Los Angeles, and I try to stay in the bike lane as much as possible. If you're on a bike in the car lane, then they're not going to see you, and even if they do, they don't give a shit, and they're going to come right into your lane. What they do is they see you in their blind spot, even though they could barely see you, but they see you. They turn on their blinker to change lanes, and they just figure you'll get out of the way. So even though they see you and they're basically cutting off, they keep going. They don't give a shit. So that's another one. The battery range on most bikes that's listed is bullshit. You can't trust it. The best thing you can do is take the high end of what they list and lower it by 60%. If they say you can get 40 miles, you're probably getting about 18. It's just a good rule of thumb, maybe 50%. But all these inflated range stats are just bullshit. A 48 volt 10 amp hour battery, which is basically 480 watt hours, is not going to get 40 miles, people. It's just not. It just, unless you pedal it without any battery, you turn the battery off. That's the only way you're going to get that, and that would take you probably forever anyway. So don't believe the bullshit. Companies are really inflating the range on their batteries, and it's just crap. Don't ever buy an e-bike that has a 36 volt battery, ever. Ever, 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 ever. It's not enough, it doesn't give you enough power, and it doesn't give you enough range. It's crap. Only get a 48 volt, and even then, try to get a 52 volt. Way better. 48 volts are just not even enough anymore. Especially with a bike that's got some weight to it, you know? Get a 52 volt. And what else? Bikes with dual battery options, much better. Dual battery options, much better. Just gives you the range. You don't have range anxiety. Last thing you want to do is go somewhere and be scared you're going to lose at it. You're going to miss. You're going to run out of power. It's just so unnerving, people. So unnerving. And you just don't want to deal with that. The other thing is, this is kind of an obvious one, but having ridden so many different electric bikes, I can tell you, if you're going to go off-road and you're going to just cruise and have fun, and you're not going to be, you know, some sort of badass and shit, you know, you're not going to be out of the seat the whole time, like, you know, a bombing downhiller, then get full suspension, because your ass will thank you. You literally will get hemorrhoids by the age of 25 if you don't. So all those people that bought bikes with just front suspension and they figured, oh, it'll be fine, you better go out and get a suspension seat post or trade the bike in for a bike with full suspension, or you're gonna feel it in the ass and you're not gonna like it, people. So that's another one. Also, a lot of people say, as far as like topping off your battery, as far as charging it, that it's not good to charge it all the way up. A lot of people think you should go to like 50%, or excuse me, like 85, 88%. That's bullshit. I've had electric bikes for years. I had one for 5, and you can easily go to 100%. Just keep it capped off. It's not a problem. Batteries today are good enough. They can handle it. You know, you're not gonna have any issues. So, wow, how the hell am I getting through that? Or am I even? I guess I'm not. The hell's that? Can't even get up there, people. Can I go that way? Yeah, I'm gonna try. Sometimes you gotta make a trail even if it doesn't exist. You know what I'm saying? There's no trail, but I'm gonna make one. See? Look at that. You saw that. We're going up into the heavens. Okay? Just trying to give you a little bit of scenery. If you're ever going to take a bike off-road, and you know, I already talked about the suspension, but you know, you got to have some knobs on the tires, people. I've seen a lot of people with like street bikes or bikes that just have just like little notches in the tires, but not really knobbies. Take them off-road and you're going to slip, people. And you're going to fall and you're going to hurt yourself and you're going to screw up your bike. So get knobbies, or at least dual sport, which is just modest knobbies. You know, you got to have some level of knobbiness. Okay? Mass-produced bikes today, and I'm not going to necessarily mention the, well, maybe I will, manufacturers. I mean, some of them, like, you know, rad power bikes, electric, what else, yeah, those are two of the best examples I can think of. Some of those bikes are just really low quality, very entry-level components, mass-produced, not a lot of care, probably assembled in China, and just really low-end components, and you're gonna have issues. It's just kind of crappy. So that's something to think about. It's like, I know that like Rad Power Bikes, for example, is the biggest manufacturer in the United States, but when you buy their bikes, they're crap. You know, same thing with Himaway. Just the components are shit. Good motor for Himaway, but everything else is shit. Rad Power Bikes, just everything is pretty low quality. You know, they lie about the watts of the motor, and the components are crap. So, and then electric, I know it's cheap, but I rode one and it's just it's pretty low quality, people. So I don't know, take that for what it's worth, but some of these really mass-produced bikes where they're literally selling thousands are just, they're crap. You know, there's something to be said for smaller manufacturers. I don't know. There's a new company out of Europe that has an electric bike called the V-Volt Sirius. The company's called V-Volt, V-V-O-L-T, and they have a bunch of e-bikes. And I got the Sirius, the higher end one. It's 2,800 granted, but everything is so high quality, you know. And I gotta believe even the lower range one, where they really kind of just take off the front suspension, that's the biggest cost difference, and it's still gonna have high-end components. So it's like, I don't know, people, some of these manufacturers that pull everything from crappy warehouses in China, just some of the components are just shit, you know. One word that you should stay away from at all costs is Altus. Shimano Altus, A-L-T-U-S. That's the lowest end derailleur, you know, that changes the gearing for you. And it's just shit, people. It's really low quality, and it's literally just shit, and you don't want it. And so many bikes today have it, you know. I'm almost positive the Himaway Cruiser has it. The Rad Power Bikes has it, most of their bikes, and it's just crap. You don't want it. You want something that's got some freaking quality behind it, and that crap just doesn't. So there you have it. The other thing is, you may not be able to tell, but do your best when looking at an e-bike to check out, like, you know, the connections between the brake handles and the brakes, the brake cables, right? Check just the overall wiring and look and just see, is it shit? You know, like where the brake lever connects to the cord. Sometimes it's just this little piece of tin that could easily break, and if you can just twist it with your finger, it means it's shit. And you know, some of the e-bikes I've ridden, notably the Rad Wagon, the Himaway Cruiser, it's just low quality, people. And some of that stuff is flimsy shit, and it's gonna break on you. You don't want to buy a bike that you're gonna spend, you know, a couple $1,000 bucks, 1,500, couple thousand, 3,000 on, and have shit like that fall apart. That's just not okay, you know. So keep that in mind. The other thing is, if you're gonna buy an electric bike that has a rear hub motor, then it's a challenge to take the tire off, because you're what was I gonna say, you're having to deal with the rear motor. It's in the actual wheel, you know. So it's not just a quick release, take it off. You literally have to undo or disconnect all the wiring to the battery and the controller. You have to deal with the not only the brake pads, but, you know, the componentry of the motor, and it's kind of a pain in the ass, you know. A lot easier to take off the front motor. So if you have a mid-drive, you don't have to worry about it. A lot of mid-drives, you know, it's not connected to the rear wheel at all, the motor, and some of them even have just quick release, and it's really easy to take off, right? Just like a regular bike. But if you're gonna get a rear hub motor, you're going to have to contend with the rear motor when you're doing the whole motor, when you're doing a tire replacement or an inner tube replacement, right? So just keep that in mind. That said, mid-drive motors are infinitesimally more powerful than a hub motor in most cases. I'm actually riding the Cab Motorworks Eagle right now, and they have this thing so tuned that it's unbelievably powerful. It is a rear hub motor, but granted, it's a 7,000 watt rear hub motor with 10,000 peak, so that's a little different. But standard rear hub motors, 500 watts, 750 watt, 1,000 watt, whatever. Massive difference between a mid-drive and a rear hub. Just to get a little perspective, and a lot of it depends on the manufacturer of the motor, etc., but and how it's tuned. But for the most part, for example, talking about the tuning, if you will, Pedigo, for example, has rear hub motors that are 500 watt, but they peak at like 1,500 watt, and they're incredibly powerful. I don't know where the hell they get them from, probably Taiwan, but their 500 watt hub motor is more powerful than most 1,200 watt hub motors. So a lot of it just depends on the manufacturer sector. But that being said, the typical hub motor is probably 40% as powerful as the typical mid-drive motor. So I have a mid-drive 250 watt motor That's more powerful than most 500 watt hub motors, really. And I had two 750 watt mid-drive motors, both Bafang, one on a little folding bike and one on a mountain bike, and they were literally way, listen to my words, way more torque than a 1200 watt hub motor, a 1500 watt hub motor. I would argue it's 2000 watt hub motor. And that's a 750 watt mid-drive. So mid-drives are just amazing. They literally are amazing. So but they are more expensive, but they're also lighter, and they occasionally have more problems because they're putting a lot of pressure on the chain. So sometimes you might have some chain breakage, etc. But overall, big fan of mid-drives. And unless you're getting a bike like this with an unbelievably powerful hub motor, the hub motor is just not going to give you enough torque, you know. A lot of people ask, you know, how is the battery capacity and power commensurate with the amount of top speed? There is a difference between a 36 volt and a 48 volt for the most part. In speed, you're going to get a little bit more power, you know, off the line with a 48 volt, but top speed is really all about the motor, you know, how powerful the motor is, and if you're pedaling. So I mean, there really is no 250 watt motor in the market that's going to get you 30 miles an hour. I don't care if it has a 72 volt battery, it's just not, you know what I mean? But there are a lot of 500 watt motors that can get you to 28 miles an hour with a 36 volt, but you're just not going to get a lot of range. So is there a big difference between a 36 volt and a 48 volt in terms of top speed? No. Is there a big difference between a 48 volt and a 36 volt in terms of top speed? No. But there is a difference between any of those batteries and the next one in terms of torque. So you are going to get a lot more torque with a more powerful motor, right? So it just makes sense. The difference between a 48 volt, a 36 volt and a 48 volt is just, it's nominal, but there is a little something. The difference between a 48 volt and a 52 volt, or a 36 volt and a 52 volt, is pretty significant. And the difference between any of those and a 60 or 72 volt battery is just massive. You know, you're definitely going to get a lot more power. But again, it's not top speed; it's off the line torque power. Okay, understand that. What's interesting is I'm yawning on my electric bike, which people think is probably not possible, but it's just, you're so comfortable, especially on this bike, and you're so relaxed that it puts you to sleep. It literally can put you to sleep. So it's the opposite end of the spectrum from working really hard and riding your bike, pedaling your bike, and going to sleep. This is more just, it lulls you to sleep, people. You're just so comfortable and just cruising at the twist of a throttle or the push of a thumb throttle, and it literally lulls you to sleep. It's like those little boxes that they hang on a crib now that like sings lullabies and stuff, and has lights and all that. It literally lulls you to sleep, people. So you gotta be vigilant when you're riding an electric bike, throttle only. Let's see, we're churching it, people. Church parking it, and this is like a massive gravel scenario. So a couple things I've learned in terms of off-roading, right? I've been to some pretty gnarly crap. Check out my videos. I went to Gorman, which is called Hungry Valley. I've been in tons of off-road trails, and when you're going off-road, and you're going over some loose dirt, or God forbid some sand, which I hate, right? You need to, as they call it, you need to float. So you need to be light on the front handlebars. You know, literally put your weight back more, and just be really light on the handlebars, and lean back, and your front will, for the most part, a lot better than usual, float over the sand and stuff. If you're really rigid and leaning forward on the handlebars, then you're gonna have all kinds of waffling problems. You're gonna be all over the place in the sand or dirt. The other thing is, if you're gonna be doing that kind of riding, lower your tire pressure. Depends on what bike you're riding, but for the most part, take the recommended tire pressure and, you know, divide it by like 60%. So the average bike, you want to put it like 10 to 15 psi, you know, and that's going to give you the surface area coverage. The bottom of the tire is going to hit the ground a lot more. You're going to have a lot more traction. But yeah, your speed will go down if you're trying to ride home on the street. Maybe pump it back up. But in the dirt, you're not going to notice a difference because you're not going to go more than 20 miles an hour probably through the dirt anyway, you know. So we're just doing a little single track in here, people. Going through some backyards. What else? What else? If you're gonna get a bike that has pedal assist, i.e. imagine like the Hyper Scrambler 2 by what do you call it, by Juiced, Super 73s, you know, Aerial Rider, you know, Grizzly and the 52 volt, etc. Make sure if you're really tall, you're gonna have real problems using the pedal assist because you have like no ability to pedal because it's so low. The seat is so low. It's a bench seat, you know, like a motorcycle type style seat or a long seat, and you can't raise it. It's fixed, and it's just really low because it's like motorcycle style. So your leg is supposed to be like 90% or so when at the very bottom of your pedal stroke. Your knee is supposed to be bent maybe 10 to 15 degrees. But on those bikes, it's like 40 to 50 because your like knees are up at your chest, they're like in your throat. And it's really hard to pedal. So just keep that in mind that for those bikes, the pedal assist is really kind of just like a nice to have. You're not going to be using it much. You're going to be using throttle and you're going to go through battery a lot. So that brings me back to battery. Make sure you have at least, if you're going to get one of those types of bikes, I would get, most of them actually today come with like a 20 amp battery. 20 amp hour battery, but make sure you have a 20 amp hour battery, and ideally you have two, right? I know the Juiced Hyper Scrambler 2 comes with two, the Aerial Rider Grizzly comes with two, Super 73 should be by now, but they're not. And go for the 52 volt. The aforementioned bikes I just talked about have 52 volt. Again, Super 73 does not. But point is, you're not going to be able to pedal, so therefore you're going to be relying on throttle, and you're going to go through the battery a lot faster than you thought you would. And if you get stuck somewhere, which I have, I made a mistake in my calculations of range and mileage, and I wound up having to ride my pedal my Super 73 home, and for like 5 miles, including hills, and oh boy, was I walking a lot, people. You can't get any leverage. First of all, the bike's huge tires, so you have tremendous what do you call it, wheel resistance on the ground, so you're getting tons of friction, and the seat's so low you can't get any pedal leverage, so it sucks. You're screwed. So anyway, just keep that in mind, hence the double battery, hence the bigger battery, etc. Dude, we're in a church parking lot. I'm Jewish. Are they gonna let me in? Are they gonna ask me to leave? Are they gonna say, give me your Christ card? I don't know, people. All I know is I'm trying to make it through this labyrinth right here they got. This is like one of those Disneyland turnstile things. I don't know why that's necessary. How many people are coming to church all at once? That many people? That many people are dying to get into this freaking place all at once. I mean, come on. There's a sign that says, like, if you're here, the wait time is 45 minutes. It's like, just trying to go to church. Just trying to praise the Lord Jesus. You know what I mean? So, I don't know, people. I just tell it like it is. You know what I'm saying?